Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class. Welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, where we finish the story. I am your host and superior web headmaster, Jarod Bachman-Stubbs, and today we're doing a fun little episode. The Nerd Academy, kind of comes with the connotation that we're going to teach you something. And I'd like to think we've done that here and there. Conversations about media literacy, talking about lore stuff, all kinds of things you can learn, I hope, from this channel and this show. But today, my friends, I am the student and not the teacher. Very excited for this episode. I had this idea at work the other day, and I'm very, very, very much looking forward to the conversation we're going to have. And I'm hoping I actually get to watch the Royal Rumble. I might have to watch it after the fact, but I am not alone, of course. We are joined by dear friend of the show and myself, and DM of Ionized Bastards, Michael McCoy of All Remaining Systems.
Hey, Lamau. Very happy to be here.
Very, very excited. Michael and Alden of Octo Radio and Anytime with Ken and Alden and Ionized Bastards have been my wrestling buddies for the last couple years now. I mean, there will be watching a wrestling event, and I'll join via StreamYard, and we'll watch together, and they're kind of talking me through what's going on. And it's been a very fun little arrangement we have going on. And I've said this before, a lot of my New Year's resolutions often focus around the media and stories I consume. And I have said, I finally think I'm into football enough to call myself a casual football fan. So I was like, you know what? Next on the docket, I am getting into wrestling for real this time. And no better time than the present, and no better time to start than on the road to WrestleMania. So Michael is going to be explaining to us plebes, us laymen, how one should prepare for the Royal Rumble if we are new to wrestling. But before we jump into that conversation, Michael, you know what pairs well with a good wrestling match?
No comment.
Sunday's Bloody Mary. You guys know the
Not
drill
what I was
right
going
now.
to
Hey, Lamau. He dabbed. Sunday's Bloody Mary has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the multiverse with their 3-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix, as well as their mild and traditional mixes. And if you want to get your freak on and garnish that bad boy, you can use some pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus, also award-winning, and some rim salt from Sunday's Bloody Mary. And you want to garnish with some rim salt there and get your freak on. Use the link in the description down below and use code TNAP, TNAP at checkout to get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. So, Michael, how long have you been a connoisseur of the wrestling?
So that's actually a little bit of an interesting story, because for most wrestling fans, it's something they get into when they're young. They watch it as a kid, then they grow up and they figure out, it's not very real. And either they stick with it regardless, or they dip out for a bit, come back later in life. It's usually, that's kind of, I feel, what the average cycle is for a wrestling fan. I started watching about a week before I started college.
Okay. Late bloomer.
A little bit, about 7 or 8 years ago now. Oh God. Yeah. This would have been back in 2016. Because I had a friend in high school who was into it, and he showed me a couple clips here and there. And that got me to the point where I was like, okay, I kind of get the appeal. because most people who don't watch wrestling and they know wrestling's fake, that's just the most they've ever thought about it. You know, they're just like, I don't know why I would watch that if it's not real. So why would I watch it? When that's the reason why you would want to watch it, because that's what makes it cool.
Yeah. It really is real life shonen anime.
100%.
It is. It has the identical story structures.
Mm-hmm. It's like shonen anime if it was a chapter a week and the story never ended, and you got like new characters over the years, and
you just finish the story. That's what I was told by that gentleman who ended racism. I was told
the gentleman with adrenaline in his soul. But no, I started watching not WWE in 2016. I started watching a wrestling show called Lucha Underground because I was a little intimidated by just jumping into the deep end with WWE, because I was like, there's so much history and so many characters that I'm like not familiar with. So I feel
One Piece.
But it's like, do you want to start with One Piece at whatever the latest chapter is? Like, that's what it sort of felt like going into it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start with this TV show about wrestling where I can start at the beginning. And that was my introduction. And obviously in the following years, I got more into the WWE side. Nowadays, I'm mostly more of an AEW guy, but I'm not a big fan of the tribalism, you know, AEW versus WWE. I just like good wrestling, so I'll watch both. You know, I watch most of the big shows for either. So,
yeah. Well, I will say, you know, I've it's my like journey as being like a casual wrestling fan who's like more in the weeds than your average bear, but not watching week to week either. You know, I knew there was a lot of like wrestling talk going on in the periphery when I was a teen listening to Comic Book Cast. You know, Armin and company were constantly making wrestling jokes. There was a lot of jokes about this one wrestler whose dick pic leaked. I want to say Brock Lesnar. I think I'm wrong.
that doesn't sound familiar to me, but there's a lot of wrestlers who, it might have been Seth Rollins.
May have been. That actually sounds more correct. That actually sounds correct. People who've listened to CBC, Armin's gonna fucking watch. I know he's gonna end up
Experts
watching
on wrestling nudes. Someone let us know if
Experts
Seth
on
Rollins'
wrestling
dick pic
nudes.
leaked around that time.
Around the time I was listening to Comic Book Cast in high school. But no, so I was like aware of it, you know, and obviously, you know, I'm a big fan of the movie Trivia Schmodown, and like a lot of the people who were a part of the Schmodown, in terms of production and in terms of competition, in terms of writing, you know, they had been involved in WWE. Christian Harloff, founder of the movie Trivia Schmodown, wrote for WWE for a little bit. Ken Knapsack had his turn in professional wrestling. So like there was a lot of that character work in there. So I learned a lot of wrestling lingo from the Schmodown, which you know baffled people who knew about wrestling when I'd throw terms like heel and face turn and heel turn around, and they'd be like, "I didn't know you watch wrestling." I'm like, "I don't. I watch professional movie trivia." And the people who do that happen to be very in the weeds with pro wrestling. And then eventually, you know, shouts out to my former employer back when we were with Do Back Discussion. I got to go to a taping of AEW Dynamite with the gentleman who runs that, TJ Bowser. He was like, "Hey, I want to go. I have a ticket. You know, no one's come with me. We come." I was like, "Fuck yeah!" So I started watching a little bit of AEW leading up to that, and I really enjoyed it. And then I got to see that taping. The dentist lady from Pittsburgh fought. Hell yeah, whose name is escaping me.
Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
Britt Baker. I knew it was Britt something. Dr.
No,
Britt Baker.
It's Britt Baker, DMD. You have to include the DMD.
Britt Baker did pimp name Slickback. Britt Baker, DMD. Britsburg, baby. But yeah, no. So, and again, I've always just kind of like tangentially around it. You know, I would hear so much about what's going on in the wrestling world. Again, now that I am in, you know, similar spaces as the Comic Book Cast people, I'm like hearing the conversations they're having, but I don't fucking understand it. And then I started watching with you guys more. And yeah, I've seen a good bit of AEW events. I've seen a good bit of WWE events. You know, on the whole, I don't want to glaze over it. I don't. There's a conversation about ethical consumption, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that WWE is not a deeply problematic organization. Those of you who are familiar with my body of work and my body of work, and also what whom I draw inspiration from, and the creators that I am a big fan of. Robert Evans of Behind the Bastards has a fantastic 6-part Behind the Bastards series about Vince McMahon that I recommend to any and everybody, wrestling fan or not. It is an incredible 6-parter that is equal parts horrifying and hilarious.
Do they get into the part where Vince McMahon tore both of his quads getting into the ring during the 2005 Royal Rumble?
That's how they end episode 6.
Nice.
They go through Vince's history as a 2-bit carny hustler. They go
in all 6 parts.
In all 6 parts. But the progression is like Vince McMahon, his like daddy's little errand boy, Vince McMahon swallowing up all of the other wrestling promotions into one conglomerate. A lot of the wrestling drama and hijinks that ensued during his reign. They talk about the objectively horrifying shit Vince McMahon has been accused of and has been complicit in hiding. And then again, there's some hilarious wrestling anecdotes sprinkled throughout, and then it ends with Vince filleting his thighs on the way into the ring, and just delivering a monologue on the floor,
which is one of the greatest Royal Rumble moments of all time, and it's a real shame that nothing will ever top it.
Yeah. As somebody who's caught glimpses of Royal Rumbles, I think I have to agree with you. Maybe we'll see.
It's a half facetious comment I just made, but also half completely genuine.
Yeah, it's 50-50 shit posting and sincerity. So, Michael, I guess the best place to start here for us newbies, what is a Royal Rumble?
Okay. So the Royal Rumble is a yearly event. WWE has been doing these for well over 30 years now. They only just recently started doing women's ones. I believe there have been 5 previous women's ones. Yes, because they've been doing them since 2018. So basically, the match is 30 men or 30 women. Starts with just 2.
Immediate question. I apologize.
Yes.
Is the Rumble co-ed? Or
no, there is a men's Rumble, women's
Okay.
Rumble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
WWE still has mostly kept the men and women's division separate. AEW has every once in a while gotten a little more loose with it with intergender matches, but
I was just curious because at my day job they've been promoting the fact that they're showing the Royal Rumble, and the graphic that WWE has had a number of lady wrestlers on it, intermixed with all of the dudes. So I wasn't sure if Rhea Ripley was going to be catching an elbow from Seth.
Now there have been women who show up in the men's Rumble and men who show up in the women's Rumble, but those don't really count, and I don't want to talk about them because they're mostly really bad.
Fair. So as you were saying, it's 30 person event, and it begins with 2 people duking it out. Continue.
Yes. So 2 people duking it out. The way you are eliminated from the Royal Rumble, it's not by pinfall or submission like a normal wrestling match. Instead, you have to be thrown out of the ring over the top rope. And that is how you are eliminated.
The top rope.
Yes.
So if you roll under, you can get right back in.
Correct. But if you go over the top rope and both your feet touch the floor, you are eliminated. This obviously leads to many shenanigans where one foot will touch the floor and the other foot will land on a bed of pancakes or something, and therefore they're not eliminated. There's shenanigans that can occur.
You pulled that bed of pancakes way too quickly and easily for that to have not happened.
Oh, that was the 2018 Rumble. That happened with Kofi Kingston.
Shut the fuck up. No.
Dead ass, yeah. The New Day had a bed of pancakes on the floor so that when Kofi fell out, one of his foot landed on the pancakes, so he wasn't eliminated.
Kofi Kingston.
It's in the 2018 Royal
Pancakes.
Rumble.
Immediately, this needs to be played. I immediately need a clip to be shown.
You may have to cut it out because I don't know how copyright will work with that, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
we'll see how it goes.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
We showed about 40 seconds of that match where the guy lands on the pancakes. And YouTube blocked the video within 2 minutes. Go look it up. It's great. I found the video on Facebook within 30 seconds. It's very funny. Michael was right. Back to the show. Okay.
But anyway, back to the point.
So to be eliminated, Soul Calibur rules, ring out.
Yes. Over the top rope, both feet touch the floor. Every 90 seconds, a new wrestler comes into the ring until all 30 have come out. And so obviously you come in first or second, you're in for a rough time. The later entrants have it a little bit
because they don't have to fight
everyone.
They don't theoretically have to fight 29 people.
Yes. Last year, the wrestler Gunther, who is the current Intercontinental Champion.
I saw him on that episode of Raw you were at. And Gunther seems like a bastard.
He is the current longest reigning Intercontinental Champion ever.
500 some days, they said.
Yep. Insane that he has held that title for that long, and he is a beast. He was also NXT UK champion for like 2 whole years. He last year broke the Royal Rumble record for, I think, the longest time in a Rumble. At the very least, he was in from the number 1 spot and lasted until the very end. He was the last one eliminated by Cody.
Wow. Okay. So it came down to him and Cody then.
Yeah.
He was the last man standing. Fascinating. Okay. See, now this is already getting exciting. This is already, I'm like, man, WWE is my favorite anime. I love it. So yeah. And then so to the victor go the spoils. What be the spoils?
The spoils is the victor gets a guaranteed world title shot at WrestleMania against the world champion of their choice. So even if they are each WWE show has its own title. So SmackDown has the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship, while Raw has the World Heavyweight Championship. Let's say you're a wrestler on Raw and you win the Rumble. You don't have to go for the Raw Championship. You can go for the SmackDown one instead. You get your choice of champion and title.
Okay. That answers a lot of questions I had, which is like, do you have to stay in the division you're in? No, you can just, hey, I'm not on this show, but this belt's mine. On you. Okay. Sick.
Yeah.
And last year, Cody Rhodes was the victor.
Yes, he came in as the number 30 entrant and won the Rumble. He is once again going to compete in this year's Rumble and is determined to finish that story, as he is wont to say. He wants to go after Roman Reigns and the Undisputed Universal Championship to have a rematch to avenge his loss at WrestleMania 39.
Yes, which I remember watching with you and Alden as he took that L against Roman.
And then a fan threw a rubber chicken at him.
At Cody or Roman?
At Cody. There's a shot of him laying in the ring, and then a rubber chicken just lands next to him.
Oh, that's deeply funny. That's deeply fucking funny. So we got 30 people on this roster for the event.
Yes.
what is the what? So okay, let's start with the who and then the what. Who are the major players who will be competing in this year's Royal Rumble? Because as I understand it, there are a handful of people who, what was it? Commit or is
Declare.
it declare? Thank you. So there's a handful of competitors who like pre-declare as
Yes.
being involved in the Rumble. So who are our big name people? Our like our main characters of the Rumble. We could go through the list of everyone who's declared, but who were the heavy hitters?
Yes. So the heaviest hitters, I'm not gonna lie, they're all mostly from Raw, from what I can tell. There's might be a little bit of bias in this because I've been paying more attention to Raw lately than I have to SmackDown. But it seems like from the list I have pulled up as well of everyone who's declared that it's mostly Raw focused. So biggest player obviously is going to be Cody Rhodes again because he's hoping to win the Rumble. And if he does win the Rumble, he will be the first person to have won 2 Rumbles in a row since Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Okay, that was another question I was going to ask. Michael, you can tell why Michael is a good DM specifically for me because he gets inside my head so quickly and easily. You'll never know what hit you.
Hey, Lamau.
Hey, Lamau. So yeah, so I was gonna ask, like, how unprecedented is it for somebody to potentially win 2 Rumbles in a row? And it sounds largely unprecedented aside from Stone Cold.
Unprecedented in the modern era, but we're also getting a lot of unprecedented things in the modern era. Namely, like I just said, Gunther being the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion ever, Roman Reigns being the Universal Champion for 1,200 something days now.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like I'm not gonna say as long as I've been aware of what's going on in WWE, but at least for like a ridiculous chunk of it, all I've heard is about how Roman Reigns is the holder of the belt.
He has been champion since 2020. And he has held both the Universal and WWE Championship since WrestleMania 38. And so they basically made a new world title for Raw to have earlier this year. So that way Roman's not the only world champion.
Now, does he currently hold both still, or no? I think Seth freaking Rollins has one of them as well, correct?
They've technically unified the championship into the Undisputed Universal Championship, I think is what they're officially calling it. Because he's got the new belt, but Paul Heyman, his wise man, still carries the 2 old belts as well. So it's a little confusing, but it seems like it's a new championship and they're just carrying around the old belts to make him look more acclaimed.
Okay.
But yeah, Seth Rollins is the current world heavyweight champion on Raw, although that may change because apparently at the Raw I was at, Seth injured his knee and he's not sure if he's going to make it to Mania. So yeah, I'm not sure how much of that is going to come into play, if he's going to vacate the title or if he's going to hold on to it and be absentee. It's just kind of up in the air right now. But yeah. So Cody is, like I said, the biggest player. One of 2, I think, who is most likely to win. The other one is a very controversial figure, recently returned to WWE. It is CM Punk.
So I was excited to hear. I wasn't sure if Punk would be competing. So we actually talked about CM Punk's return on a relatively recent episode of TNF. It was from a month ago, but it's recent in the feed. It was like our last main show episode we did before we took our little holiday break. Did that with Armin from Comic Book Cast. But for people who haven't seen that one and aren't fully up to date, how is CM Punk? Why is CM Punk?
So CM Punk is one of the most popular wrestlers in the world. I will try and truncate a very long history into a very short period of time. CM Punk wrestled on the indies in the early to mid 2000s, was incredibly popular, one of the most popular independent wrestlers there was. Went to WWE, had a very successful run for a little while, then eventually just kind of fell lower and lower down the card. Felt like he was being treated very undeserved. And so there's a very infamous episode of Raw where he cuts an unscripted promo talking about how unhappy he is and how he deserves to be in the main event of WrestleMania and all this stuff, which eventually leads to him getting fired on his wedding day by WWE. And he quits wrestling for several years as a result. Comes back in the new wrestling company, AEW.
Yes.
Comes back, cuts an incredibly heartfelt promo saying that the day he went to WWE was the day he left professional wrestling, and saying quotes such as, I was never going to get better physically, mentally, spiritually, staying in the same place that got me sick in the first place. 2 backstage fights in
words for the WWE.
Yeah, he had some very not good things to say. And at one point in AEW, he gets in a backstage fight for real, not as a storyline or anything.
Like
he gets
real
suspended.
fisticuffs.
Yes. He gets suspended, comes back sometime later. They give him his own show to make him happy with creative control and capacity to, say who he wants in and off his show, so he can say all those people who I got in a fight with and their friends are not allowed on my show, Punk then gets into another backstage fight just before his opening match on the biggest wrestling show of all time, AEW All in Wembley Stadium in London.
I was going to say, so the fight that gets him fired, like the fist fight,
yes.
not a choreographed, like it's not part of the show, it's not part of the story. It is CM Punk, the man, gets into a physical altercation with a coworker just before he goes on stage.
Yes. And that is what gets him fired, because a pattern is starting to emerge at that point. And then at Survivor Series, WWE last year, CM Punk makes his return to WWE.
A historic moment we got to watch together, because I will say, as somebody who, my like, I joke that I'm a baby Mark, or I'm like I'm a Mark Padawan, has been the joke I've been making. And I recently bought a WWE Roosevelt. So once I watch the Rumble, be it in a sports bar or at home after the fact, I will consider myself a Mark Jedi Knight. But as somebody who, like, their immediate proximity to wrestling, I, like many people, took a liking to Punk.
Mm-hmm.
AEW. I was like, I know this guy's name. I heard about him a lot. I didn't know much about this guy, but motherfucker, does he put on a hell of a show. And I watched that YouTube documentary that people talk about a lot that was like chronicling Punk's like first run in AEW. And I was like,
and his feud with MJF, which is one of the best wrestling feuds I've ever seen. Straight up.
Incredible. It is incredible. It is an epic. It is not epic. It is an epic. So I had kind of glommed on the Punk. I was like, I really like this CM Punk guy. And then immediately after getting into Punk via that documentary and like seeing him fight here and there, watching AEW with you guys, he gets shit canned by AEW Tony Khan for objectively shitty behavior. And at that point, and again, this is me, and correct me if I get any of these details wrong. From my perspective, he gets fired by AEW, and almost immediately, what I can only describe as wrestling QAnon starts. trying to predict his inevitable return to WWE that had half of the WWE fan base like, he's coming, guys. Any day now, he'll be here. Waiting for the second coming of Punk. And then the other half was like, y'all are fucking crazy. This is the guy who, when WWE was putting on a show in Saudi Arabia, said, like, enjoy sucking that blood money dick or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So, and the whole, like, it can't get better in the place that made me sick, blah, blah, blah. So, like, he had so much public animus with a company that is infamous for you don't talk shit about the house. He'll never come back. He'll never come back. And me being a baby Mark, I was like, I kind of would like it if he came back. I just want to see this guy wrestle now that I'm like more involved in trying to keep up with this stuff. And B, I'm like, this would be fun. This would cause a brouhaha that would be entertaining to watch from afar. And we watched it happen. It was very beautifully done. They practically go to the copyright logos at the end before his iconic Cult of Personality music starts playing. And then I saw a whole lot of people say they were nonplussed with Mr. Punk, namely our mutual dear friend and former CM Punk stan, Alden Diaz. Be very heartbroken by the fact that it kind of seems like Punk sold out.
Or came to WWE out of spite for AEW when his firing was a consequence of his own actions.
Yes. And these are all things that he very much can and should be criticized for.
Yeah.
I'm excited in a very selfish way because I was like, well, I never got my Punk. I barely got to enjoy him once I figured out how cool he was.
Yeah.
It was like your new favorite character getting killed off. So I was excited for the return of Punk, but understand why people are nonplussed about it, and am not going to defend him from the criticism he's very well earned on that front.
And regardless of the criticism, it should be acknowledged that he is an incredible professional wrestler, and I'm sure any matches he has in the future will probably also be very good.
So we have Punk. Who else is going to be rumbling?
Okay. In terms of major players, the only other one who I think is a clear, like, maybe this person could win is Gunther. I don't think it is. I think it will almost certainly be Punk or Cody. But Gunther's got a solid shot too, I think. Even with his Intercontinental Championship. He had a segment with Seth Rollins on Raw this past week, where they sort of talked it out, and Gunther said he might be coming for Seth. So who knows? It's entirely possible Gunther may win the Rumble, go after Rollins' World Heavyweight title, and maybe Cody gets to Roman some other way, because there are obviously more than one ways to get a title shot at WrestleMania. Even if you don't win the Rumble, there's usually another show like Elimination Chamber or something where you could win a shot.
Yes.
And Gunther obviously was sort of the Iron Man during the last Rumble, so he's got a good track record in these things. Other people who have declared for the Rumble that are noteworthy, Drew McIntyre, who has started an incredible heel run, just one of the most believable heel turns. Alden again has talked about this a lot when we talk about wrestling, but Drew McIntyre has maybe one of the most believable reasons for turning heel ever, which is just remembering storylines that have happened and being like, hey, why are we all cool with Jey Uso now when he used to be a member of the Bloodline? Am I the only one who remembers that?
And Cody has been going to bat for Jey Uso.
Yes.
After
they won the tag titles for about 2 days.
For about 2 days.
And They also had an incredible press conference where Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes were drunk.
I remember seeing that, and that was very, very funny. And I
rewatch it every couple days, and it makes me laugh every time.
I remember seeing McIntyre's like little tete-a-tete he had with Cody at the Raw you were at.
Yeah.
So that was I'm sure that was electric to watch live.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and McIntyre's always been a favorite of mine. It really sucks because he became world champion in 2020 when they were doing shows not in front of crowds. So he won the WWE championship in an empty arena. And that is deeply sad. And he had a pretty good run trying to carry WWE on his back through the weird times of the pandemic. And so I would love to see him get another world title reign. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think he's got much of a shot at all, but I'm very excited to see what comes of Drew's current run. And I'm just going to run through the list of everyone else who is declared. Most of them don't really matter. Shinsuke Nakamura, Bobby Lashley, Chad Gable, Otis, and Akira Tozawa, Kofi Kingston, and Damian Priest, who is the current Money in the Bank holder.
Yeah, I remember them calling attention to that during Raw a good bit. And I believe he's one of the leaders of Judgment Day, which is the faction that holds Mommy, Rhea Ripley, as well as the evil son of Rey Mysterio, Don Mysterio, correct?
Correct. Or as R-Truth will call him, Tom and Nick Mysterio, even though he doesn't know who Nick is. R-Truth is trying to be a part of Judgment Day and not doing a very good job, and it's amazing.
I am stunned that is not a gimmick or a bit that has happened in Epic Confrontations with Big Chunkus yet.
And yeah, so Damian Priest is someone just to watch out for because there's a chance he could cash in. Because of the Money in the Bank, for those who are unfamiliar with wrestling.
Yes.
That is another yearly event they have, which is a ladder match. The men and the women each have one for a briefcase where the holder of the briefcase at any time can cash it in and get a world title shot. And that does mean any time. So even if the champion has like just fought a match or is in the middle of a match, Damian Priest can run in, cash in, start a match.
Yeah, I remember during Seth Rollins' match against
Jinder.
Thank you. That he kind of like, whoo,
yeah,
woo,
and he's been doing that for like 2 months straight, like constantly like failing to cash in. He's sort of feuding with Drew McIntyre right now, so McIntyre may not want him to cash in because it was Damian's attempted cash-in that cost McIntyre a match with Seth Rollins. So
in the event he were to cash in his Money in the Bank,
yes,
power, does that mean that in the carnage of the Royal Rumble, there would also be a championship match happening inside of that?
If Rollins were in the Rumble, yes, but I don't think Rollins is in the Rumble as he is the current world champion.
Okay.
So they have done it before where
in it. So it would okay. I mean, these are all hypotheticals that do not apply to this if Rollins is not there.
Yes.
If Priest tosses Seth freaking Rollins over the rope, is he just eliminated from the Rumble, or does he become champion, or does he have to like pin him and then flip him out to like double eliminate him?
So this is something that's never happened before, like someone cashing in the middle of a Royal Rumble match. But hypothetically, what I assume would happen
is he has to basically kill him twice.
Kinda, yeah. You would have to pin him in the ring to get the world title. But you could also just throw him over the top rope to eliminate him from the Rumble while your match with him is still happening. So there's like 2 matches happening at the same time in the ring. Which again, this will not happen. I almost guarantee you. I just felt the need to bring up the Money in the Bank thing because in case Rollins has some sort of segment at the Rumble where like he comes out and cuts a promo or something, and maybe because of the injury, they go ahead and pull the trigger on Damian Priest, just have him cash in and beat Seth for the title. It's a possibility that I thought was worth mentioning.
Yeah, I like it. And you knew to expect the fact that I would ask, okay, could we make this clusterfuck more convoluted and insane for my own personal enjoyment?
And I would love that for the record, because I'm all for bullshit in wrestling. But yeah, that's the men's Rumble. The women's Rumble, we have nowhere near as many people announced. The current women's world champions, for a little bit of context, Rhea Ripley is the women's world champion. And then on SmackDown, Io Sky is the women's champion. I hate the names of these belts, but that's what they're calling them now.
Okay.
Rhea Ripley has been champion since last WrestleMania, and Io Sky has been champion since she cashed in her Money in the Bank at SummerSlam.
And for those of you at home, Rhea Ripley is the hot goth lady you see on social media all the time.
Yeah, she is. So this Rumble, the women's Rumble, does not have as clear a winner. However, I think it probably is going to come down to two of them. But again, this is my speculation. The two who I think are most likely to win are number one, Becky Lynch. She has won a women's Rumble in the past. She won the 2019 Rumble and went on to main event WrestleMania, being the first woman to main event a WrestleMania.
Hell yeah.
And if she wins, she is most likely going after Rhea Ripley. Based on the Raw that I was at, they had a segment against one another where Becky said, "I don't know if I can beat you, but I'm sure as hell I'm going to try." So who knows? Maybe they'll get to Mania some other way. Maybe
A
not.
promo I am too proud to ever cut against Alden, even though it is true.
Yes.
I don't know if I can actually beat you, but I'll be damned if I don't try.
And then who I think will win the Royal Rumble this year is Bayley, who is currently on SmackDown. She is technically the leader, for now anyway, of a group called Damage Control. This group's been around for almost 2 years now.
Okay.
It started off as just Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky as a trio. And then earlier this year, I want to say it was a little bit before Survivor Series, we had two more Japanese women join the faction. Asuka and Kairi Sane, who are two of my favorite women's wrestlers, joined Damage Control. So it seems like Bayley is losing power within this group and maybe starting a face turn, and it's looking pretty likely some sort of betrayal will take place in some form or another, where maybe Io Sky, Asuka, and Kairi Sane just break off or take over Damage Control completely. It's kind of unclear where Dakota Kai is going to fall in all this. But yeah, I suspect that Bayley will win the Rumble and go on to face Io Sky at WrestleMania to sort of avenge her being ousted from this faction, or her being ousted from this faction comes as a result of her winning the Rumble. Maybe she will accidentally eliminate some of her teammates. Who knows? And then there's one other potential winner that I think is pretty unlikely, is Nia Jax, who is a woman who beat Becky Lynch clean a few weeks ago and seems to be wanting to contend for Rhea Ripley's championship. I don't think she'll win. I don't think WWE is going to pull the trigger on that, but it's possible.
It is a not improbable. It is improbable, but it is in the realm of possibility.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess, as we've made jokes, wrestling is like anime. What are before we wind down here with the Q&A, what what are the major storylines going in? Obviously, I mean, I think the obvious one to start with is what's going on with Cody Rhodes. We've made jokes about the "I must finish the story" routine. So, what is the story with Cody Rhodes?
The story is that no one in his family, despite being, a very prestigious wrestling family, has ever won a world title. And Cody wants to win that world title to finish that story, to sort of elevate his family legacy. And he was supposed to do that at last Mania. That didn't happen, so he wants to try again at this one.
I just want to say, I think Cody might be my favorite person in WWE.
It's really hard to not like Cody, even I had complicated feelings after he left AEW and went back to WWE, almost for similar reasons for Punk, but nowhere near as severe as Punk. But damn, Cody's just such a good babyface.
He's
he
a
has been
fantastic
killing
face.
it.
He is a fantastic face. And again, like, it is so easy to do like the anime comparisons with Cody Rhodes because he just has that like straight-laced anime protagonist. Like there's only it's to make some very baby's first anime comparisons here for me as well. It's like a pinch of Goku, a pinch of Izuku Midoriya, with that like very like, I'm gonna prove that I'm the best, and because I'm the best, I want all comers, and I want to elevate the legacy. It's just so pure hokiness, and I love it. I love this Captain America looking motherfucker trying to finish his stories and everything. I
with his
love it.
dumb neck tattoo.
Even with his dumbass neck tattoo, it is. I mean, it's not that the neck tattoo looks bad. It's like it's not bad art. I don't want to say
it's that it's on his neck.
It's that it is on his neck. But no, it's incredible. I had it not been for the fact that it's no longer on the Roosevelt store, I was going to get the Cody Rhodes Roosevelt for WrestleMania or for the Rumble. And if it gets restocked before Mania, I might cop it. Although they do their big WWE drop during Mania, so it'll probably get restocked during Mania, and I will obviously not have it in time. But all of that to say, I love Cody. I am probably rooting for Cody. I didn't get to actually see him win the Rumble last year. I just knew that he did, and I'm really pulling for the American Nightmare here. But yeah, the other plot lines that are important. I'm sure we're gonna have to talk about the Bloodline as well.
Yeah, so the Bloodline is obviously a big sort of faction going into it. None of the members of the Bloodline are confirmed for the Rumble. Even former member Jey Uso has not really been confirmed for the Rumble, though I imagine that we'll probably see at the very least Jimmy and Jey Uso, because they're probably going to have a match at WrestleMania, because they never really had a blow-off match after Jimmy cost Jey his shot at Roman's title. Now there are two other matches, non-Royal Rumble matches on the Royal Rumble show.
Okay.
And so those might be a bit more important because one of them also involves the Bloodline. I'll get the shitty one out of the way, and that is going to be the United States Championship match, which is Kevin Owens versus the champion, Logan Paul.
Okay.
And my disdain comes for Logan Paul as a person. I confess that Logan Paul is a great professional wrestler, and goddamn, I've said it before, that man is born to be a professional wrestler.
Let me say my misgivings about Logan Paul also as a person. Don't want to. We're not going to let the podcast evolve into like the bizarre nature of internet redemption. I've kind of firmly fallen on the side of, I think he's a jackass, but there are far more damaging jackasses on the internet. And like he's one of those people that like, I personally do not feel the need to burn him at the stake for shit he did in the past at this point. I think he's, again, people have gotten away with worse with less punishment. And seemed less sincerely invested and sincerely guilty about it.
Mhm.
I think, like, again, I think he's a jackass. There are bigger jackasses on the card
I don't know.
for the
He's
Rumble,
become a
but
crypto scammer nowadays too. So
he's a
I
crypto
think it's pretty.
scammer.
Oh, have you not heard about this? He had a whole ass like crypto mobile game that like didn't work and was kind of broken and scammed like thousands of dollars off of people, and then said he was going to refund people, and then he didn't.
Forget everything I just said.
Yeah, fuck Logan.
Maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
No, we got to get that guy in the fucking ring.
But yeah, Logan Paul is a person aside. He is, I hate to admit it, he's a good wrestler. He's a good heel, and he makes me want to watch people beat the shit out of him.
He wrestles like Yoda fights.
Yes.
Like,
And he's had viral moments, of course, with Ricochet, I think last year's Rumble, because they're both insanely agile people. But
yeah, a lot of acrobatics. Yeah.
But yeah, Logan Paul won the U.S. Championship from Rey Mysterio at one of the Saudi Arabia shows a couple months ago, and basically has not been seen since.
One of the Blood Money Dick shows.
Yeah, he just took the title and fucked off, more or less. And Kevin Owens is looking to take that title from him, and probably won't happen because they're probably gonna take it off him at Mania. So yeah, that's happening. It'll probably be a good match, but again, fuck Logan Paul.
Valid.
And then the other match on the card is for the Undisputed Universal Championship. It is a fatal four-way match where Roman, the champion, will face Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and LA Knight. And the storyline is that Roman has not defended his title hardly at all lately. And so SmackDown General Manager Nick Aldis said, yeah, you're going to defend your title now, and it'll be against all three of these guys. So LA Knight has, I think it was the last person to challenge Roman for the title a couple months ago. And he lost. And Randy Orton recently returned at Survivor Series, so he wants a shot at it. And AJ Styles is a very good wrestler with not a lot to do right now, so he's also in there.
So now that Roman is officially in the mix and we're talking about him, what is the Bloodline story?
So the Bloodline story is Roman Reigns returned to WWE. He took a break during the pandemic for health and safety concerns. Roman spent a lot of time disliked as a babyface because he was viewed as a very much like a corporate, like
they viewed him as
a
an
product,
industry
not
brand.
a character.
Yeah.
Then Roman came back as a mega heel, won the title, and like completely won over the fans by being a monstrous character. His first contender for his title was his cousin, Jey Uso, who had spent his entire career as a tag team wrestler and finally got a chance to shine as a singles competitor. And Roman beat the fuck out of him and basically beat him and his brother Jimmy into submission until they made him the head of their family, which he has taken the moniker, the head of the table. And so he took in Jimmy and Jay as his underlings, as well as their brother Solo Sikoa, and formed this faction called the Bloodline. And the Bloodline won all the gold for a while, barring the mid-card titles. They held the tag titles and both world titles. The Usos have since lost the tag titles at last year's WrestleMania, and Jey Uso has actually split off from the Bloodline, kind of becoming his own man once again. It looked like Jimmy has done the same until they changed their mind and had him just join the Bloodline again for no apparent reason. So he's just back to being Roman's lackey, I guess, which kind of sucks. But the Bloodline story's gone a little off the rails since WrestleMania, I'm not going to lie. Mostly just that like Roman hasn't done a whole lot. it's just felt like it's kind of spinning its wheels because Cody was supposed to kind of finish the story, and the story has just been kind of in a lull since then because it hasn't had like a real solid beat since.
Now, Roman Reigns. Am I correct in the understanding that he is related to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
Yes, they are all part of a Samoan like family dynasty, more or less. So The Rock returned at Raw a few weeks ago to beat the shit out of Jinder Mahal and also teased the fact that he might be going after Roman Reigns. So it is entirely possible that something happens with that The Rock might try and go for Roman. I don't think he's going to beat Roman. I think they might use it as a way to kind of just like put some momentum again behind Roman Reigns, solidify him as this monster heel head of the table again. But we're really not sure if anything's actually going to happen with that. So
I was under the impression that it was like hurtling towards The Rock is coming out of semi-retirement to be like, all right, you've raised enough hell in this league and semi in my name. And I got to set you straight, kid. I got to beat your punk ass.
yeah.
Shut up, bitch.
Yeah, it looks like that might happen. It's hard to tell. Like I said, this Roman Reigns story, I hate to be kind of down on it because it is a big deal, and Roman is an incredible performer and has improved so much, especially in these last few years. Like, it is night and day, the difference between his run as babyface and his current tribal chief run. But like I said, the story's been just kind of spinning its wheels, not really doing a whole lot. And I hate having Roman kind of as an absentee champion because while I'm glad that he's getting time off, it also just means there's not a whole lot going on with what should be the most important title in the company right now. And it's very reminiscent of when we had Brock Lesnar as Universal Champion for what felt like years, and Brock would wrestle like one match every 3 months. And that sucked and got old real quick.
Okay. So we got Cody's story. We got the bloodline. Are there any other like major plot lines to like keep your ears perked up for that may become relevant during the Rumble?
I think we've talked about most of them. There might be a few minor storylines like Imperium versus New Day, Judgment Day sort of feuding with DIY and The Miz and R-Truth. Maybe Rey Mysterio comes back and beats the shit out of his kids like it's WWE 2K13 again.
What?
There's an infamous Rey Mysterio tweet when the video game WWE 13 came out, and he tweeted, "I can't wait to go home and beat my kids."
Sensational. That's his word.
And because it's funny because he did beat his kid at last year's WrestleMania.
Rey Mysterio.
Got that dog at 12.
Michael doesn't think the such and such had that dog in him thing is funny, so I have to make sure I play it when he's on.
Your house, your rules.
But
no, I think we pretty much covered all the most important storylines that are going on right now.
Is there anything storyline wise going on with Punk aside from the fact that he's back?
Not really. He had a segment with Cody on this last Raw where they're both, itching to win the Rumble and get that title shot. Punk has not had a match since his return, at least not a
That was my question. I wasn't sure if Punk had actually even fought yet.
He had an untelevised match at Madison Square Garden against Dominic Mysterio. Because fuck Dominic Mysterio, and it was funny. But no, Punk has not had a televised match yet, so the Rumble will be his first quote unquote canonical in-ring appearance since returning at Survivor Series.
I mean, that's a hell of a way to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if that's all you have, Michael, we do have some listener questions.
Real quick, actually, one last thing I
Please.
wanted to mention is two, at least off the top of my head, I can only think of two potential returns to WWE. Maybe people jumping ship from AEW over because Andrade Cien Almas, it seems his contract has expired, and so he might be returning back to WWE. It's a possibility depending on contract stuff. And the other one, I don't think this is likely at all, but it has been left ambiguous. MJF's contract with AEW expires in 2024, and so it's not impossible that now he is no longer world champion. He will show up in WWE. I don't think that's going to happen, but
I would hope not. I would hope not.
Yeah. It seems like he's going to stick around with AEW, but he's been very playful about that fact since, well, for the last few years, really. But
okay, well, things to keep an eye on. So before we wrap up, Michael, and I let you go, we have a couple listener questions. I will start one from this very lovely lady on Twitter at Quicksilver Girl. I believe her name is Miss Taylor. She asks, can you tell me why it's okay for wrestlers to go under the rope and still be in? Why doesn't everyone just do that and fight all over the place? I'm not sure if she's asking normal wrestling matches or the Rumble specifically, but the Rumble does dictate you have to go over the rope.
Correct. And so there are some wrestlers who take the tactic of like just holding the bottom rope. But usually you just get the shit kicked out of you if you do that. And
yeah, it sounds like a good way to get jumped.
Yeah. Or if it's something more akin to in Lucha Underground and Aztec Warfare, there have been some wrestlers I won't name because they're pieces of shit in real life who like handcuffed themselves to like the bottom rope. So that way it's easier for them to stay in.
In fucking sane.
Yeah. Wrestling's weird, but normal matches you also can get to safety for the ropes unless it's a multi-man match or a no disqualifications match. So
all right, there you go. We have one question from the Tony Khan of our lives, Eli from In a Galaxy. For both Michael and Jarod, match EC main characters with WWE/AEW characters. So once upon a time, it sucks because you really do want to just say that Alden was the punk.
Alden is Roman and you're Cody, and you can't finish that fucking story.
Oh, I get to be Cody? I'll totally take that. I will finish the story.
Never gonna happen. Which I guess makes me Jimmy Uso, and I'm cool.
I will finish the story. Anyway.
Lies.
No. I have a path. Tune into the next Epic Confrontations to figure that out, but I have a path.
But yeah, you're probably Cody. That makes Alden Roman, and makes Chungus the Bloodline. So I guess Trey is Solo Sikoa. The Jimmy Uso. I think that's the most apt comparison we have right now.
It's the most apt comparison. How does Scotty factor in?
Scotty, I guess he's probably R-Truth because he just bumbles his way into success.
Yes, that's actually very good. I'm trying to think. Oh, Jerry.
Jerry's such a sweetheart. I want to say he's Sami Zayn.
Okay.
Sami Zayn, who had one of the best moments I've ever seen in wrestling at last year's Royal Rumble. So,
what was that? Walk me through.
Where he turned on the Bloodline because he was an honorary member.
Yes. I do remember hearing about that now that you say it that way.
And he may also be returning at the Rumble because I think he was taking a brief break for a little while just to get some time off, but he might be coming back.
Well, I look forward to seeing that. I do remember that happening now that you mention it. I'm trying to think of like who like the big epic confrontations like players are who really lean into the kayfabe and could like have like a good comparison.
I know Andy's really good at the kayfabe, but I don't know who a good comparison for them would be.
Andy's kayfabe is incredible. They are great on the
Mhm.
mic. But yeah, and then our last question, speaking of the devil, comes from Scotty J-Ro.
Oh, I thought
Is
you were
there
going to say Adam Cole, baby.
Scotty asks, is there any Joseph Campbell comparisons you can make when it comes to wrestling? And I will say, not to keep talking about the American Nightmare, I think Cody's arc is very Campbellian. I think there's a lot to unpack with the legacy of the father. I mean, his whole like wrestling family dynasty, but specifically like his father, and wanting to elevate that legacy, living in the shadow of that unfinished story, and trying to live up to that myth against what is almost an eldritch evil at this point with Roman Reigns. And speaking about Roman, I meant to say this when you're done talking about the bloodline. If you want a more extensive explanation of the bloodline story, Super Eye Patch Wolf, the video essayist, has a wonderful kind of trilogy of videos about professional wrestling that I implore you to
his
watch.
newest one, which is the unreality of pro wrestling, which focuses on Roman and the bloodline, is one of the best videos about wrestling I've ever seen. And I can't recommend it enough to people.
It is what, yeah, it is one of the best video essays I've ever seen, and I consume them almost pathologically.
I think I've watched that video at least once a month since it came out.
Yeah, no, it's incredible stuff. I can't recommend it enough. But like you have all this almost ultimate evil, this cosmic evil in Roman Reigns, that is standing in between Cody, completing the bloodline. And we're talking about Campbell, and Campbell almost necessarily leads to a conversation about Star Wars. I think the dark comparisons between Cody and Roman make them great rivals, and also adds to the Campbellian mythic element here. Because on one hand, you have somebody who also comes from this legendary wrestling dynasty, that is obsessed with that legacy and is obsessed with his place in it. But whereas one wants to kind of push the family name over the finish line, the other one wants to own the family name in an effort to exalt himself. So I think that's very Campbellian.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the most familiar with Campbell. I wouldn't want to speak on that like I'm an expert, but I think professional wrestling is one of the greatest forms of fiction there is, and I say that completely
Absolutely.
unironically.
Oh, it absolutely is.
I think there is so much you can really like dive into with like the tropes of storytelling and the nature of storytelling. Obviously wrestling is all about, heroes and villains and all these things. But when you really get deep into the nuance of it, there can be so much depth there. Like Roman Reigns is such a complex character that was created by the fans and their initial disdain for him, as that video we just went on a whole tangent about really does a great job of showing. And like I was talking about earlier with Drew McIntyre having like a really believable heel turn. It's not wrestling doesn't have to be, oh, this guy turned bad because, well, we need a bad guy now. A lot of times it is that. A lot of times wrestling storytelling is dumb and shitty. But when it's great, it's fucking great. And
even when
true drama.
I didn't mean to cut you off, and I agree with everything you just said. Even when it is dumb and shitty, like, and again, this is somebody who does consider themselves a layman. From what I've seen, even when it is dumb and shitty and hokey and very like bizarre logic that exists solely, wrestling operates as both like with like it feels like anime, and it operates with like fighting game story mode logic of a lot of things are happening to facilitate the next fist fight you get into. I say this fresh off the heels of beating the story from Mortal Kombat 1, which is as overly complicated as professional wrestling. I think that even when it is dumb and shitty, there you have so many wrestlers who are so committed and believe in the story they're telling so much. As like a performer, as an actor, it's still like very endearing, even when it is dumb and shitty.
Yeah, because what's reality and what's fiction with wrestling often really blurs together. It's just sort of the nature of this beast and how, tightly woven these people are with their characters, being able to perform the way that they do. I wrote an entire paper in college about why we as people feel emotional response to fiction. And I wrote that paper about professional wrestling. And so I have a lot of complex thoughts about that. But yeah, like you said, it's all very tightly interconnected.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, guys, I really hope this episode was helpful. If you plan on watching the Rumble, if you're in an area where they exist, I know of a sports bar chain owned by some motherfucker named Tom that's showing it without a cover. So,
and if you got a Peacock subscription, you can just watch it. You can watch every show WWE has ever done if you got Peacock.
Oh, you don't. It's just on. I don't have to like pay-per-view buy it.
Nope. All WWE shit is just on Peacock. AEW stuff you have to buy, but.
Well, if I'm not able to get off work for the Rumble, I just had a huge weight lifted off my shoulders that I thought I was going to have to pay hand over fist to watch the fucking.
Nope. Just get on the Peacock.
Just get on the bird one. Excellent. Well, Michael, before we wrap up here, please tell the lovely people where they can find you. If they're, I know that if you're watching this, there's something else you should be watching that they should already know about, but tell the lovely people nonetheless.
I got to think what it is you're talking about. Is it perhaps my Star Wars fan fiction, which you can check out on my YouTube channel, All Remaining Systems, also on my Archive of Our Own page, which you can find through my Twitter at Local First Order. My YouTube channel is All Remaining Systems. I do Star Wars content, sometimes ASMR, and there's that Star Wars role-playing game series that you're on. It's called Ionized Bastards. We recently started season 2. It features you, me, Alden Diaz, Dan from Broaxium, and Jerry from the Bombad cast. Season 2 is a great place to jump in, even if you haven't watched season 1, though I highly recommend you watch both.
It really is. I do want to acknowledge, just so it's on the record, I don't even know if I told you about this. Kaysen and I were working on a previously on recap video so people could jump right into season 2. And his computer updated and erased the entire thing.
Oh, no.
So for those of you who were like, he mentioned that like 2 months ago. Where is it? Kaysen's computer ate it. And the little bit that he worked on, Michael can attest to, was fucking incredible.
It was great.
So whenever season 3 is about to come out, we'll probably make one for that.
and then your computer will eat the recap for season 2.
Yeah, in that case, his computer will eat that too. It's salvage. It's salvage coming for revenge. That's
right.
Salvage's
and
vengeance.
You'll never know what hit you.
No.
But yeah, I highly recommend that. It's one of the things I'm most proud of that I've ever worked on.
Same here. It's like it's Star Wars meets Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's rated R.
Yep. And let's see, have I plugged everything I do? I think that's about it. So
yeah, Epic Confrontations, the Star Wars Trivia League we're both in, which is there's some kayfabe in there if you want to satiate that desire.
I've been told I've got a match coming up, and all I'll say is your boy's gonna get an easy win.
All I can say is that my faction is about to start handing L's out like it's Halloween, my friend.
To each other? You're gonna hand
no, to losers like you and Big Chungus. You see, this is our year. This is
I can't hear what you're saying, Jarod. You're cutting out.
0-1 in both divisions. Say what?
How's that story going?
0-1 in both divisions. Say what?
How's that story going, Mr. Rhodes?
It's going great. I have an incredible record.
Mid.
I am 4-2 with 3 KOs. I have mathematically the best record in the league.
I'm sorry, how many wins do you have?
4 with 3 KOs.
That's let's see, you've got 2 losses to Scotty, you've got 3 losses to Alden. So that's still more than the wins you have in total is losses to those 2.
So you see, this is where again, I expected you, the wrestling guy, to understand that Scotty's first win against me predates Epic Confrontations. I know you can still hear me. That first loss to Scotty, was on a defunct team pre-existing Epic Confrontations, and Alden has beaten me once in actual singles play. His individual defeat of me in hyperspace does not count, nor does the exhibition match we played count. And he waited till he knew I was done to put the headphones on, which means
Are you still going?
I fucking hate you. Anyway, go check out Michael. He's an incredible writer with a man who has an incredible grasp on what makes Star Wars Star Wars. So read his stories, watch Ionized Bastards, support this man and his creative mind as best you can, because he absolutely deserves it.
And follow me on Twitter, and if you do, tweet A Lamau to me.
Michael is like Tinkerbell, where you clap to give her life. The more A Lamau's Michael hears, the stronger he gets, and I want him to be in max capacity, so that when my master assassin comes to cut his fucking head off, it's all the more glorious.
I cannot lose.
I'm also rooting against you because it will make my potential number 1 contender match a lot easier. Or no, that's not the stipulation for that match. Either way, check out our remaining systems. Check out Ionized Bastards. Watch Epic Confrontations. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552. And you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, wherever you get podcasts, and at our website, thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you want to get your hands on some TNAT merch, you can click that student store link.
T-shirtpublic.com.
And if you're feeling generous, you can chuck in a buck to our Patreon.
Hey, give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Keandre Lloyd.
Colin Provolone. Sir.
So good.
Steal yourself, Colin! Steal yourself!
This is me stealing myself.
And to Paco, or as he's going by on our Patreon, Chat GPT.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
And to Ray Clausen, who asks that you help keep queer kids safe at the Lone Star State by donating to Equality Texas. Michael, what were you about to say?
Oh, I was just going to say that that scream is what Jarod does before every show he's on. I've seen him do it every time. I just hope your audience knows that.
Oh, absolutely. Like down to like the...
Yeah, I asked you about it once, and you said it was your vocal warm-ups that your hero taught you to do it, so...
We're recording the final episode of the Versus series that you get access to on our Patreon for season 4 next week. Or this week, whichever one works out. Kyle Katarn versus General Grievous. And then we begin season 5 with our first match that will be Darth Vader versus Yoda. Eat shit, Eli. Michael has fully taken the wind out of my sails for that baseless accusation.
What? Baseless? Jarod, you do it before every show. I've seen it many times.
This is not true. This is not true.
Jarod, are you trying to say that I, Michael, an honorable and good-hearted man, would lie and gaslight your audience purely
I want
for the
everybody
memes?
to go to Michael's Twitter page and just type Thrawn in to the search and read that thread, and then I'll let the viewers decide whether or not you are a honest source of information.
I'm a great source of information, and very soon I will be posting some behind-the-scenes facts about Andor. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for some very real, authentic, sourced by multiple people.
Multiple sources.
Multiple sources have confirmed that Michael is not full of shit. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to share and do all of that stuff. Comment. And we might be doing like a Royal Rumble post-mortem next week. I haven't made up my mind. We might be doing that.
And if you really liked me talking about wrestling, stay tuned. I may have a project in the works sometime this year.
This may have been a backdoor pilot for a whole other podcast, because God knows I'm not deeply involved with enough podcasts.
And because this has been a show I've been thinking about doing for several years, and who knows if I'll actually get around to it.
Thank you all so very much for listening. Be sure to finish the story, and class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!
Alden Diaz couldn't lace my boots.